Welcome to Boo Crew Case Files. I am your host, Bree Schroeder. Joining me today is Val Gregory from St. Ignatius Hospital. Welcome, Val.
Thank you.
Now, Val, you and I have known each other for several years, but for listeners who aren't familiar with St. Ignatius, can you tell us a little bit about the history, please?
St. Ignatius Hospital was built in 1893 by the Sisters of Providence. Uh, it stayed a hospital until about 1968. In 1968, it was turned into a home for developmentally disabled and the mentally insane, and it stayed that until about 2003.
And what activity do you or your tour guides experience when investigating or when you're experiencing tours with people?
So we've had everything from full body apparitions to being touched. We hear voices, so we get EVPs with voices. Our meters go off in different rooms. Our SLS cameras always show some type of figure somewhere in the building. Um, and so we just have lots of activity. I've never felt like it was a dark entity. I've always felt like they're just kind of there to visit with us and talk. I've never felt really threatened in there.
I agree with that. I definitely feel like it's more curious and wanting to interact than anything harmful or malicious. So, are you
Yeah,
seeing
yeah.
with the current renovations that are going on as Austin and Laura are doing those changes? Have you seen an increased activity since it started?
Yes. In fact, I would say the last 2 weeks have been pretty crazy in there. We've heard footsteps upstairs running down the hall, and when I look at my cameras, there's nobody up there. And when I go up there, nobody's up there. Um, and so, yeah, I would say that the activity has really increased since they've started doing the renovations on the building.
That's just incredible. I mean, it's such a fascinating building, and it never feels like each visit of this is the same. I mean, I've been there several times, and it can be pretty quiet to super active, and then you go back through and listen to audio, and crazy things are happening. But I don't think we can really call it abandoned with all the residual intelligent energy that's going on. Would you agree?
Right. No, I don't think it's abandoned at all. People always come and say, "Oh, you're in an old abandoned building." I'm like, "Oh no, there's lots of things in here."
It's definitely still active while abandoned, if you will.
Yes, yes.
What would you say is the most incredible experience you've had at St. Ignatius?
I think one of mine I had some high school kids in there late one night after a homecoming dance, and we were standing on the stairs and we heard what sounded like a whole group of people running towards us. And it was loud and it lasted for a long time, to the point that I went towards it to look to see what was over the stairs, and there was nothing there. All the kids were scared. Some of them were crying. We got out of there, but it was so creepy.
Yeah, that I can definitely say we shared an experience similar to that. Not like a mass of people running, but we shared an experience late one night where we were on the second floor and had the sounds of footsteps up the stairwell and then running across what sounded like the marble floors. It was just mind blowing.
Yeah, yeah.
So, with the Boo Crew case files, the goal here is to tell the story of a patient, doctor, or nurse in hopes that it will offer energy to the spirit to communicate. What are your thoughts around that experiment in its own? Do you see that when you're telling stories about former patients?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of times we knew the former patients, some of the ones that were the developmentally disabled in there. And we'll say their names. We'll talk to them, see if they'll react to any of our equipment or talk to us. And so, yeah, I think that helps trigger it. Or maybe they knew the patient who was in there because they lived there at the same time they did. So that's kind of the fun part is we do have names
Mhm.
and we do have a lot of the history. And so I think it helps our investigations.
Who are your most active spirits, or what are your most active spots within the hospital for the listeners?
I would say third floor has always been my most active. I have a spirit up there that I think her name's Sarah, and she passed away of Spanish influenza, and she was 9 years old. The other one up there is Rose. She's probably our most famous spirit. Rose has calmed down a little bit over the years, but in the beginning, I had people who couldn't even walk into her room. it just has a different feeling. It's kind of a heavy feeling. Her room looks different than anybody else's room. Um, and so I would say that probably third floor is active. First floor has been really picking up lately, though, with all the construction. Most of the construction is on first floor right now. So I've noticed like our kitchen is super active. And then down the hallway where ER was.
Well, I want to thank you for the sponsorship to Boo Crew Case Files. Now, what are you hoping to achieve by allowing access to the hospital for the podcast?
Well, I mean, our goal is to have people keep coming on our tours, and they can go to colfaxhauntedhospital.com and buy tickets. We have every kind of tour, 2-hour tours, 3-hour tours, 4-hour tours. I even have a scary movie night, and then you go on your self-guided tour. We do hide and seek, which is coming up in a month, I think, and that's always a fun one. So we want people to keep coming because the money for the tickets actually help us save the building. So that's our goal, is to save the building, and that's why we keep doing our tours.
It's definitely going to a good cause. I mean, that building is just so phenomenal. So, Val, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time today, and we'll definitely get some tickets sold for you and get some believers in there if they're not already
Thank
believers.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you to Val Gregory for joining me to discuss St. Ignatius Hospital. Part of this season for Boo Crew Case Files will be recorded and investigated at St. Ignatius Hospital. I will be working through newspaper archives to locate stories and articles about former patients and staff. These stories will be limited due to privacy reasons, but we will share the story of the individual and see if we can communicate with any spirits about the person or events. Join me as I explore these files with special co-hosts. Here are some of what you can look forward to on this season of Boo Crew Case Files.
Where's the body?
She asks, "Where's the body?" I don't think something like that would be said on the radio. Did somebody just touch my hand? Did anybody put me in my arm?
What, Trina?
Trina? Did you just say hi, Trina?
Yes.
What happened to Terrence?
The guy settled.
What took place in the rough house? What did Terrence do? As you can hear, we have quite a few stories already lined up and ready to go. Still much more to explore. Join me on the next episode as we explore more Boo Crew Case Files from St. Ignatius Hospital.
If you'd like to come on a tour at St. Ignatius, go to colfaxhauntedhospital.com and grab some tickets and come and see us.